Alright guys, hopefully the phone's not going to jump around too much. But I thought I'd do a video today. I might even do the podcast tomorrow. The reason I haven't been doing it is, to be fair, I started getting into a routine of going to the gym. So I get up at 5:30 every morning. So like today, I went out this morning. And then I sort of come back and just crashed out, but basically went to sleep for an hour or so because changing my daily routine is actually affecting me, although in a good way, because I've got to admit, getting up at 5:30, I'm getting a lot more done, but it also sort of would spring into the podcast as well, because it's a massive pothole here, just got to go over the top of it. But it does sort of reshape my time frame, in the sense of, if I look at, what is this car doing? So if I take into account I get up early, I start off with productivity till 8 in the morning, which is then into work time. So the reality is, from 5:30 to 8 is fully productive. I go to the gym for an hour and I'm doing other stuff that I want to be doing. So at the moment I've just sat and framed the outlines of 2 books I want to do. I'm finding a lot of stuff out there is regurgitated stuff, and I do think a lot of the time it doesn't get the message across, hence people keep creating the same similar stuff. So I'm trying to think how to frame it in a way that does help get things across, because most of the problems that we face as human beings, male or female, because I'm going to say male or female, I'm not interested in those people that want to be called whatever they want to be, because it's, for me, it's a non-starter. I'm just not getting into it. I think this is the problem. We've been entertaining this stuff for too long, and even trying to justify it in one way or the other. The reality is, there's only male or female. Anyway, moving on. So a lot of the stuff that we do face out there is around habits. A lot of it is around stuff people have done to us or encouraged us to do. If you look at why cereal is a bad meal, yet it's the most important meal, according to some. So see how I say it, yeah, according to some. The reason for that being is, I don't believe there's one type of human for a start, because I believe in the reality that we have different types within our own groupings. So for example, I'm very nocturnal. I'm quite happy to stay up late at night and go to bed, what do you call it, get up late in the morning. Hence, changing my actual system at the minute is probably having a double down effect, because I normally don't like to be up early. It doesn't agree with me, it never has. At the same time, my productivity is improving because of doing it. So my point being is, I don't believe we're all one size fits all, which is what they keep trying to do. Why? Because let's face it, it's all around consumerism. It's all about selling you something. It doesn't matter what the hell it is, they're all doing it. And I was thinking about this morning around butchers. You know, like, we go, well, going back to the old shops, the butchers were better and whatever, and they were. But you also come across now and again the little stories about what they've been adding as extras and fillers and stuff, and some of them are a bit unscrupulous. So even in your arenas of going back to a traditional sort of life, there was problems in it. The difference with everything being corporate, however, is purely bottom line and greed. So it's compounded, because you don't see people talking quality anymore. I mean, you look at the original setup of Nike, it was about the people, it was about the, you know, What are you doing? It is about the reality. Sorry, somebody just nearly sideswiped me. So it is about the stuff that's sort of going on in today's lives, but let's not lose sight that historically we still had issues going on a regular basis. Just the difference here is they weren't putting it in 60 kilos of sausages. Now it's in tons of sausages. It's not sold to like 100 people, it's sold to 5 million, for example. Everything's compounded, but also the butcher was an artisan. He specialised in butchery. He took a love of what he did originally. And I'm not saying all butchers are bad either, because they're not. I'm just saying you get the odd one that is problematic. But you often find it's the ones that will take the maximising for profit and seeing how far they can take it that will benefit. This is why I think the biggest car manufacturer on the planet, is it still Fiat that makes some of the crappiest cars on the planet historically? Why? Because they sold a lot of cheap cars. It gives them an edge over prestige and high end purely because they sell a lot of junk. So that's where we are. Society is literally selling junk. You look at Amazon, it has displaced most of the marketplaces and small enterprises and replaced it with imported crap. The good thing with the tariffs, I think that's going to affect that stuff. You know, the American tariffs. I think people are going to whinge and complain and disagree, but my view is I think it's been a long time coming. There has always been unfair trade, whether it's China, India, or, well, anything that you're not getting good value from is a bad deal. I mean, even these stupid embargo things that we talk about with Russia, and then we find out that all they do is, instead of sell Russian gas or oil, it suddenly becomes another country's oil, and then it then gets sold back to us via a third party. And you're sitting there going, okay, so all those tariffs have really done is penalise us and gave an opportunity to a third party. Sales. Well done. And I'm on about the Russia-Ukraine war piece at the minute. But ultimately, this is what we're looking at. A lot of the stuff that we find bloats us out, like the drive for fast food. I always scratch my head on the fast food piece, because when I was a kid, there wasn't many fast food restaurants. I think, you know, because I was in the UK, so I think our key ones would have probably been, well, I go back to when I was really young. It was little roadside cafes that might do a chip sandwich, a plate of chips, tea and coffee. I think milkshake was one of the things that they did that you sort of couldn't get anywhere else at the time. But there wasn't a lot, you know, there wasn't a big variety. But let's face it, they weren't triple frying chips, they weren't doing anything amazing, they weren't overselling, they were just going, it's a plate of chips. And you wonder why the health is declined when you start triple frying and adjusting food that didn't really need messing around with. Because what happens over time screws up our taste buds. You start becoming a bit more addicted to this stuff. You start becoming more interested in the flavors. You know, you start looking at the way cereals increased its sugar content. You look at the foods that have salt in yet don't actually need salt, and how some of this is an evolution stuff for profit. It's not about you, it's beyond getting money out your pocket. And the reason I put this as a bit of an intro is quite simply that's how I'm starting to frame things now myself. I start looking at everything through the lens of what's in it for somebody else. Why am I being told this? You know, the tariff piece, I get it. The US is about to reframe its trading, and I don't really have an issue with it. I look at the state of the UK and think, if the UK actually started producing stuff, then this makes sense. But reality is, we can't even produce electricity. We've given everything away. My view is, I think we've been betrayed by our own businesses, you know, corporations, and our own government for too long. It's not been for the benefit of the people, it's been for the benefit of greed, and it's slowly eroded. And I get the other side of it. You go back far enough, you start getting into how the unions interfered with stuff and destroyed a lot of businesses as well. It's not a one easy step, and this is one of the things that's important with a lot of the stuff out there. Hence looking at it through the lens of why am I being told this? What is the advantage of this? Why is somebody trying to frame this as the truth, the facts, the reality, when often it's a theory, it's a opinion, it's not actually accurate, and it's normally about greed. And that's why when you look at the politics, they've managed to divide the majority of people into left and right, when I don't see, I can't even think of anybody I know that I would say is far right. Left, I could definitely see a lot of people sitting in that framework, particularly that work in healthcare and education. But even they are starting to see it as a bit of a skewed environment, because kids become unruly. They have to deal with policies they create that often don't make sense, so they start to become a victim of their own creation. And I always remember the one, because it annoyed my dad, to be fair, because my dad's quite a, well, sorry, he's dead now, but he was quite a chilled out guy most of the time. He was an angry man in the sense of he just was left alone, but generally he wasn't, he was somebody that is quite happy just reading a book, not bothering anybody. But my God, heaven forbid there was a problem with the car, the wash machine, because the effing and jeffing, kicking bits of it around was quite a common scene. I mean, as I got older, I used to fix things and just do it when he'd had enough trying to fix it and not working, and he would disappear, and then I'd fix it and then pretend I hadn't done it. But he was at the photography club when they're all working the NHS. And this one woman said, "Oh, 3 women went out for the day in the car." Okay, this is a joke, by the way. And they all got there safely and happy. Okay, so where's the joke? No, that was it. It's just this hatred of men out of some of these people. They're so spiteful. I mean, for me, I look at it through, like I said, I look through the lens on that. I think, how bad are their husbands for standing up for themselves? How thick must be their skin, or have they got to that point in life where you don't listen to your wife at all? You just nod and agree and just don't take any interest at all. Now, I had that a long time ago, because I was with somebody ages and ages ago, who just did everything she wanted regardless, because she wanted your opinion just to reinforce that whatever she was doing was right, and if it went wrong, obviously it was your fault because you agreed to it as well. So you end up in these sort of scenarios. So I can see where some of this ends up, because people just switch off and they think, do you want to be in a relationship like that? Do you think any of these women wake up at a certain point and realise they have killed their own relationship through their selfishness? of just doing everything to suit themselves and suck the life out of their husband, or their husband's just not engaged with them at all. How weird. I do find it weird, because for me, I just went off and did my own thing. I've got to admit, I didn't sort of go, yes, yeah, no, yeah, just agree to everything like a Mrs. Bouquet type thing. It was a case of, yeah, you want to do that, you do that, but I'm not helping you. You want to do that, or you want to buy that? Yeah, you buy that, but you're paying for it. I'm not getting involved. And yeah, it does create friction, especially when they're spending more money than they earn, because then they're in your pocket. Hence another reason they need you to buy into their ideas. But that's why I'm sort of looking at things through this lens of, well, we know what brought us here, but how did we get out of it? So I've started writing 2 books. I'm just framing them at the minute, but they're both going to be sort of around personal development and creating changes. But I'm writing one as like for teenagers and one for adults, simply because although they're similar, I'm hoping that I can actually come up with some good information that's relevant to the age group. Because I look at my son and how he's changed, because we introduced a lot of structure to his life, and it was like night and day. Just like bang, completely changed. A lot more confident, a lot more self-disciplined, takes a lot of effort in himself, and that's easily replicated. But it also got me thinking about a lot of that for me is around the fact that my parents didn't do any of that stuff with me. I was like very independent from a young age. Because I was one of 4, I've always been very independent, but we also had a older sister that died I believe in the first year. So my parents, because then when I come along, I was a boy, so not really that important, and then my sister's the next one, so then that sort of space, shall we say, after the death of losing a daughter, become filled by my sister, and then you're sort of pushed out as the independent. But as you probably noticed, I don't sit here with a tear in my eye, because that independence has also allowed me to be a lot more independent, because you're used to doing stuff off your own back. You don't need a pat on the back for everything you do. In the same way, my sister wasn't in a good shape after my dad died, because he was her crutch. He was the guy that would sort her life out for her. Well, the one that self-praised when everyone else doesn't, because they actually, a lot of people find her annoying. So when he died, that ability's gone. Independent, never had it, so I haven't lost anything. But with my kids, I just let them do what they want. It's like today, because my son had a new guitar, so he's had another guitar now. But the guitar was actually cheaper, because he spends time with his mother a lot, and her being Asian. They're notoriously famous for not wanting to spend money on anything they don't really see the need to spend money on. Oh, Matt, you're right. It's not racist. It's a bloody well-known thing. It's a it is a stereotype, but stereotypes come from people's habits. So if certain races and nations have habits, then bizarrely, it may be a stereotype, but it doesn't mean it's not true. So anyway, so he's had a new guitar, and then I got him to do a recording for us to see how it sounded. And like today, because he was complaining about, he was struggling to record it with his phone, I just bought him a setup for the recording instruments. Why? Because he's bloody good at it. You know, I get the fact that with kids, when they really, really want something, you can make a spoiled little monster if they just get what they want. But I see his music ability is education, so supporting it is about literally supporting him for his future. So yeah, he does get a lot of stuff on the instruments, but outside of that, I've got to say, he doesn't really ask for much. It's not, you know, it's not like I'll scream until I make myself thick. You know, that was Bonnie Langford in, what was that musical? Bugsy Malone, I think it was. But my kids aren't like spoiled. They don't get a lot of tat. I don't do tat. I don't like it. So anything that they do is they actually do research it, make sure they've got something of value out of it. And I think that's one of the bits that we're often missing, because a lot of the problems we have in society today are related to what you're sitting on now, which is your social media. I don't have a problem with social media as an entity, but the problem is we spend too much time on it. It's often skewed. We often get the algorithms played to our tune to accommodate whatever we want to hear, which is really bad. Hence the NHS joke nonsense. It sort of highlights why that's just not healthy. And the other thing is we sit on our backsides too much. Got to change and make micro changes. I've started doing micro changes back to the way I was when I was younger, like when I was a kid. And it's not like I'm in a midlife crisis. I'm just thinking there's a lot of healthy habits we had then that you don't realize you've eroded over time. Myself, I focused on work to get ahead, and my body's took the toll over time. Yes, financially it's been very useful, but now I'm in that mindset of like, okay, you're working hard, but you're not working smart. You're spending too much time focused on work stuff because the business needs it. But even if you resolved everything, they would sack you in a heartbeat. So there is no incentive. The incentive is actually develop stuff either in the industry that I can sell on, in the industry that I can develop myself to go to a better job role. Outside the industry could be completely different. Outside the industry, getting back to stuff I actually love. So you've got that sort of got to start reshaping the way you live. The gym, going in every morning, because when I was a kid, got a lot more exercise because your parents would throw you out and say come back when it's dark. But like today, it's Saturday. When I was a kid, we always went into town. Didn't matter if my parents had money or no money, we would walk to town every Saturday and just go and look in the shop windows. I've started going back to that now, because even though I've got money and there's nothing I really want to buy, it's about going out there and doing something, because you might bump into somebody you know or didn't know. Like going to the music shop last week, met some of the guys in the store. It was a nice environment, and I'm not that good at music because I sacrificed everything for bloody work life. So I'm stepping back now and starting to go, okay, we've now got a full drum set up, we've now got a guitar set up, we've got the vocal set up, we've got the piano set up. And I got another mixer, so I'm starting to learn how to use a mixer. It'll bloody work with my laptop. But I'm getting more into stuff that I want to do and stuff I would have done when I was younger, which is having a passion for stuff outside of work, because I was never interested in sport. I think my dad's obsession with rugby sucked the life out of the sport. because he always went to the rugby matches because he was in the army team. So a lot of our weekends were taken up by rugby, like for my entire childhood. Even if he wasn't playing, he would go to watch. He actually got Man of the Year because he went to every single game, and he got awarded Man of the Year for the rugby team, even though he wasn't actually playing. I think it was because the level in the team was quite high, so I don't think he was in the first team, but he still went and watched all the matches. So for me, I know some people will go, "Oh yeah, that's great, blah blah," but that, like I said, I was an independent, so that was him with my sister, not with me. I was just sort of like dragged along to it. But at the same time, I'm looking at how the environment around us is isolating us. We're not becoming as social as we used to be. And they charge for everything. I find the UK just wants to be in your pocket every 5 minutes. You look at the gyms, you go, oh yeah, there's a much better gym. Yeah, it's only this price. And you go, right. When I was wanting a gym when I was young, I struggled financially because I didn't have enough spare cash. So you've got the best gyms out there, but they're often not that cheap. I mean, I've got to admit, I use Pure Gyms here in Northampton, and that's a cheap deal. That's 15 quid a month. But I could understand if you were working in a basic pay job, even 15 quid a month may be a stretch in some cases. But reality is, we've got to be proactively making things to suit ourselves and get back to where we were. Another important aspect of that is understanding that you need to be more in control of your life and let less people take control of your life. This is like that adolescence nonsense, where people go, oh, and then they start saying, well, incels are a risk, right? I believe the stats on incels is less than 50 incel murders globally. So why is adolescence getting so much media coverage? It's irrelevant. It's fictitious nonsense. I mean, if you want to do it politically, look what Syria's doing to Christians. I think that's far more relevant and far more realistic when you got little people in the politics realm saying how great these new Syrians are now Assad's gone. I've got to admit, I'm not a supporter of Assad, but what happens is they open these voids, and what came before and what comes now, there isn't a lot of difference. But anyway, moving forward, I won't sit and say the guy's a great guy when they're murdering Christians. That's just not on. That's just stupid. I mean, politicians just seem to be whatever's the flavour this at the minute. They don't seem to have any more depth than the knowledge of a fish. Was it 3 seconds attention span or mentality in this? Memory. But I don't even think that's correct either, though, because how can a fish recognize when somebody's coming up to it for feeding time if it couldn't memorize that somebody fed it? I don't know. So yeah, I'm not sure that that statement's even true, because I mean, I know our fish sit. If you sit next to the fish, they come over wanting to be fed, so they know you're there. Because let's face it, most things are fight or flight. You've got a giant sitting next to your tank. Wouldn't you go and hide? And then, oh, they've just given me some food. Oh, yeah, they're not dangerous. But come tomorrow, you forgot they fed you. So I do find that a little bit odd. But I think we are in the realms of change now. People keep talking about the risks of rebellions across Europe, because let's face it, Ireland's not in a good spot. UK generally is not in a good spot. Germany, France, all over Europe there is problems. And let's face it, we've imported people that won't work. They're scroungers. You may get the odd one that wants to work, but let's face it, we're in the rise of AI. We're in the rise of automation. You get a $3,000 robot that can replace somebody on a production line. It doesn't take much to recover that cost. It's a month's salary realistically when you factor in things like their the payments for social security. And that's reality. We're replacing things. Also, when we invited a lot of the Poles and whatever to the UK, they came here, they studied, they learned, and headed back home with the knowledge and money to start their own firms to compete against ourselves at a cheaper rate. And I've got no issue against Polish or whatever. British government's just stupid. But anyway, we can only focus on ourselves. All this other stuff we can't control. We can move around the world. We can change our arenas. Oh, funny enough, I was actually, before I come out, I was listening to a guy talking about living in the UK, some African guy. And I read the comments, and you could see every person on there was milking the UK. They were not talking about, I'm going to become British. They were talking about the same mentality I have when I go to places like Oman, Qatar, etc. for work, or even the UK, right? I am not spending my money in the UK. I am saving in the UK. I renovate my house in Spain. I'm paying my mortgage off in Spain. I think I've got more security in Spain than I have in the UK, because the mess of these socialists here is going to really screw up things. And let's face it, I don't want a compulsory purchase on my house at some point, which if these socialists keep going the way they are, it's something they may even do. So, good luck. Oh, well, we'll go after your savings next. I'll pay it all off on the mortgage. I don't care. We're in a really crappy state, because the problem with socialism in what they're doing is it's just devaluing everything. I seen somebody complaining the other day. Oh, sorry, I skipped forward again, didn't I? The point is, these African comments, because they're all Africans, because obviously a lot of these people are obviously relational to the person who's actually doing the video. And they were saying about, oh, worked in UK for 3 years, went back to Zimbabwe, or was it Zimbabwe? Say Zimbabwe, it could be elsewhere. And they bought a lot of cattle. Worked in the UK for this, did this. Worked in the UK, did that. These people, the smart ones, here you go, the smart ones are coming here and exploiting it financially, because what they can earn in 3 years here is a lot of money where they come from, and they're not staying. Why would they? You know, I'm not being funny. It's like in the Philippines, we've got property we own. We can move to the Philippines and just rent out places and not have to work. The reality is, I like Spain, so I'm just paying off this house in Spain, and then in reality I could drop back to, okay, I want to do other stuff. I hate work as it is. It's boring, it's tedious, there's less and less people that know what they're doing. There is massive opportunities to do other stuff. I mean, I look at AI, I think we're not even touching the surface with it, with a lot of the stuff that's out there. I think there's got massive possibilities. But on top of this, I focus on the family unit. I focus on stabilising our future. So bear in mind, we still got the properties in the Philippines. We pretty much own the property in Spain. There's not a lot left on it, debt-wise. And at the same time, the UK is going to tax you more. We hate you because you're a white male. We want men to be sort of pushed out of business because we're going to make best, girl boss, all this crap. And yet I have not found a woman in my industry yet that's actually been capable of the job they're doing. Every single one of them so far I've come across is behind on their work. Every one of them seems quite stressed out. A lot of them have a lot of time off for illnesses and sickness. And you see that a lot in healthcare and education. You can look up the stats yourself. You don't need me to do it. Reality is, we're at a cusp of change, because flooding the UK full of the crap from around the world, and it is crap, let's face it. We're not getting doctors, we're not getting engineers, we're getting freeloaders. They're not expecting to work. They don't have much to offer us, and yet we're sitting there going, oh Matt, can you pay more tax because little Sanjid from whatever needs a house for him and his 5 kids and his wife. Oh, is that one wife or 3 wives? Well, yeah, he needs more money from you anyway. And then you start to see the exodus as people leave. Then the other side of it, you're making all the girl boss nonsense. So what you've got is people like myself are squeezed out of jobs that we do well to be replaced by young graduates and other people that are cheaper, but definitely not better. And that gets onto the graduates, right? The graduates was the bit I cut myself off for a minute ago. So somebody was complaining about the minimum wage in the UK, that it used to be 3 times the minimum wage in the UK, and now it's time and a half. 1.5 times the rate of the difference between minimum wage by being a graduate. What they don't factor in is a lot of the graduate courses are a pile of dog poo. They've devalued the systems, they've made them easier, they've made them simpler. You're getting people that are not fit for purpose that are sitting there with degrees. So obviously that has an impact where they're expecting to freeload in, I went and did 2 or 3 years in a course, so I should automatically become the boss. Yeah, good luck with that, because a lot of time now, they weren't very good in the first place, and it hasn't got any better, because I hate the graduate stuff, because a lot of the knowledge that they're taught, and I say knowledge in the sense of it's regurgitated to them through the principles of education, where it's read a book, listen to what I say, this is a theory, this is a theory, this is a theory, this is a theory. So whether you're sitting looking and going, oh, use the STAR method, use there's one from Boston, it's Boston something group, which is funny enough one of your groups that are responsible for your DEI. They're part of the people that have pushed all this stuff, because these organizations advise but they don't own. So they go into big companies and they sell their theories, which have all been pushed on by agendas, rather than actually it being business savvy and beneficial to the business, because obviously a lot of this leftist stuff is not actually business savvy. What do you mean? Well, call me old-fashioned, but if I've got somebody that's doing bricklaying, I base it on how many bricks he lays and how good it is. How good it is his mortar mix good? Is it level? Is the finishing smooth? Is it clean? Basic. I do not base it on whether he's black or a woman. And if he was a white guy, oh, sorry, mate, I can't give you that job. We haven't got enough. We've got too many white people here. But that's what they pretty much done to a lot of businesses. This is what I was saying about the girl boss bit, because these people have all risen in businesses, in the police, in education, in healthcare, in the corporate world, and without any merit a lot of the time. A lot of the stuff they learned is not based on substance. It's not based on generating improved revenues. It's not generated on a greater depth of knowledge that will improve the business. It's often on political ideals. And the problem with ideology, it doesn't always fit with business. Because the best businesses, in theory, are the ones that sell to everybody. The ones that do not try to follow an agenda. Because if you look at what happened with Budweiser Light, if you look at what happens, I mean, Nike went through some weird crap. The razor stuff about Gillette did some crazy stuff. The point is, you are a product. The product should be the best it can be and demonstrating why it's the best it can be. Or we do it cheap, but we stack them high. We stack them high because we buy in bulk. So that's our justification. Although we don't sell the best, we sell it cheap. And we sell it cheap because we buy thousands of them. So it's not a case of you getting a bad product. Those are the sort of things that businesses need to be focused on. Not how many white people they forced out and then frame it in something else. Not how many not how many people are clapping for themselves because they're a woman in business or a diversity hire, whatever. I don't give a toss if someone's a diversity hire. What I want is them to do their bloody job and do it well, because that's all that matters to me. And as somebody as a stockholder, let's face it, if we're buying stocks and shares, that's what I bloody expect of the company, to give me the best deal possible. I want to make money. And if I focused on stuff that doesn't make any sense, how's that going to improve our productivity? Do you think China's doing this crap? And we don't really talk about the impact on it either. We don't really talk about when these people screw things up, they move from company to company, and then someone else is coming in, another diversity. So they're sort of chopping and changing. Because if you look in healthcare, look at the NHS, look at the chief execs, look at what they do, look at the heads of councils, look at the stuff they get up to. What's that one in London? Westminster. Have a look at Westminster Council and have a look at the crap they do. These people are destroying Britain. But anyway, we should focus on what we can do. The only reason I bring this stuff up today, though, was actually more to do with just seeing it as it is. Don't, you know, if somebody says, "Oh, yeah, we should have more," I don't know, people from Thailand. You never hear people saying we've got a shortage of Asians, like not the Pakistani Indian Asians. I'm talking about Filipinos, Thai, Chinese, Japanese. That's never sort of pushed. We ain't got enough of those people. It's always certain people that are pushing their political agenda, and these people are all yes people. The politicians, they're all yes people. They just suck it up. And it hasn't changed. What you've got is more acceptance now than, say, 30 years ago. Because when they used to sit and complain and call everyone a racist 30 years ago, it was just like, yeah, whatever. You know, all right, calm down. It's not people are racist. You ask them for more. All I hear from you every time I see you is more. And there's always a problem. There's never no upside. It's always, oh, yeah, we hate it. We shouldn't be celebrating this, but celebrate our religion all the time. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. It's like, no, just leave it alone. But anyway, I'll cut it off because it's going to be a fairly long video. I will do a podcast tomorrow. I'm going to have to sit and work out set up on my laptop because I got that cheap Chinese laptop, which is not very good for the audio. So I'll see if I can set it up with my microphone. But anyway, have a great weekend, guys. And I say guys, whether you're female or male, because quite simply, we're all one people. Even those people that hate me or hate themselves or whatever, you're still part of our club. You're still a human being, you're still a person. And all I advise, if you've got a lot of hatred in you, look inwards and think the core thing for all of this is, what favor is it doing for you? Because the answer is probably absolutely nothing. Well, there's your answer. You're wallowing in your own crap. Stop it. Thanks for watching.